Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Hello, my beautiful tri-state area. Happy New Year. Wishing you all the very best for 2024. I'm Zen Sams. Welcome to our 145th episode. It's always a great pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me on social media. That really does make it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. And also remember, we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern. And of course, all episodes of A Moment of Zen are now streaming 24/7 on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV. And you can always find us, of course, on our YouTube channel at Zen Sams. In our Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, we're featuring journalist, influencer, and now author Carrie Berk. Carrie Berk is just 20 years old and already has a life's worth of accomplishments under her belt. It's no wonder Bella Magazine declared her an ambitious and dedicated boss babe, and the Wall Street Journal, they touted her as a community-minded young creator. In her most recent accomplishment, in her solo debut book, My Real-Life Rom-Com, it's a guide on how to build confidence and write your own relationship rules. She's going to join me today to chat all about that new book, dating tips, and balancing her many, many hats. In America's favorite pharmacist segment, brought to you by Triquetra Health, we're chatting with my contributor, pharmaceutical expert Phil Cowley, right here in studio at 710 WOR, iHeart headquarters in Midtown Manhattan. We're talking about the looming pharmaceutical crisis, rising costs of prescriptions, and why Congress is currently reviewing a new law requiring transparency from pharmaceutical manufacturers and pharmacy benefit managers. What is it that they're hiding? In our Discover Your Potential segment, brought to you by Body Align, I am joined in studio right here at iHeart headquarters with our newest segment contributors, podcasters, and authors, Dan Gilman, and of course, writer and podcaster Anna DeVere. Their latest venture brings things full circle with this Discover Your Potential segment in a new year of transformation. We're going to be chatting life, love, new beginnings, and how my dear friends and co-hosts Anna DeVere and Dan Gilman turned their life around. In the Going Deep segment, we're featuring Dr. Anthony Wilson, board-certified plastic surgeon, chatting CO2 lift for the skin, why carboxytherapy is a top trending Google search, and its incredible non-invasive age-reversing benefits. Stay tuned for our Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, featuring 20-year-old journalist, influencer, and now author Carrie Berk, chatting all about her real-life rom-com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Make it happen with Mariah Calor, where entrepreneurship meets heart and home. Join them on a journey through the dynamic world of real estate, the charm of a small wedding venue, and the inspiring life of a wife and mom of 2 boys who's conquering it all. Witness the passion, the hustle, and the joy as she navigates the exciting intersection of business and family. Make it happen, because success is not just a destination, it's a journey you create together. Do check them out on yourhometv.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, 100% pure coconut water. Imagine a drink that's nutrient-rich, powerfully refreshing, naturally sweet with no added sugars, not from concentrate, 0 additives, low in calories, absolutely no artificial flavors, and is so tasty that it will become your new favorite beverage. Enter Once Upon a Coconut, the absolute best-tasting coconut water you will ever try. Available in 4 refreshing flavors: pure, chocolate, pineapple, and sparkling with energy. Do your taste buds a favor and pick up some today at onceuponacoconut.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, we're featuring journalist, influencer, and now author, Carrie Berk. Carrie is just 20 years old and already has a life's worth of accomplishments under her belt. It's no wonder Bella Magazine, our dear friends at Bella Magazine, declared her an ambitious and dedicated boss babe, and the Wall Street Journal, they dubbed her as a community-minded young creator. She's a verified content creator with over 5 million followers over all of her social media platforms with a combined monthly engagement of more than 100 million. Carrie is currently a reporter, a contributing writer for the New York Post, Page Six, Huffington Post, Newsweek, Decider, and so much more. That's just to name a few. She covers topics ranging from beauty and style to celebrity and sports. If that wasn't enough, Carrie has co-written, are you ready, 21 books to date for 3 best-selling children's book series, The Cupcake Club, Fashion Academy, and Ask Emma. Her most recent accomplishment is her solo debut book, My Real-Life Rom-Com, which is a guide on how to build confidence and write your own relationship rules. She joins me today to chat all about her new book, dating tips, and balancing her many roles. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Carrie, oh my goodness, you have so many accomplishments. At just 20 years old, you've gained so many titles and accolades. And I want to talk about this latest solo venture, My Real-Life Rom-Com. It just hit shelves a few months ago.
Yes.
And I know that writing is nothing new to you, obviously, with having co-authored 21 children's books. But co-penning your first book, Peace, Love, and Cupcake, back in 2012, that was the beginning of basically the rest is history. So how did you discover your passion of writing, and what made you want to pursue it as a career?
Well, I've always loved writing. When I first learned about realistic fiction in school in second grade, I just instantly fell in love with this idea of embedding real life themes into fictional scenarios. And my mom was a writer. She is a writer. I've watched her as I've been growing up type away at her computer so passionately. So one day I came home from school with this idea, and before we knew it, it turned into a mother-daughter book series because obviously I was 8 at the time. I could not do it all by myself. And from there, it kind of just took off.
Well, you've certainly done a great job into turning that passion into a full-blown career, coming full circle. You're almost 21 years old. And that brings me back to your newest book, My Real-Life Rom-Com. So let's talk about that. Now, this book is a resource teens can turn to for any and all questions and concerns about coming of age and love and heartbreak. I mean, you really sum it up nicely. But you started writing the book when you were just 16 years old on the day of your first heartbreak. Oof. Now, pages of diary entries turned into what eventually became chapters. Can you share with us more about what inspired this book, and what do you think writing this book was therapeutic for you to heal from your own dating experiences and heartbreaks?
So when I first started writing this book, it was a form of self-therapy. As you mentioned, I'd just gone through my first heartbreak at age 16, and I just started writing down everything I could remember. And I put that away. During the pandemic, I was turning 18, and similarly, I was worried the pandemic was going to go on for a long time, and I was going to lose all of my memories, especially those related to love and the lessons that I learned in love. So I revisited that one essay I wrote when I was 16 after my first heartbreak, and I started writing more and more of those. And eventually, those diary entries of sorts, those personal essays, turned into a book. And I realized it was so much greater than just self-therapy. This was something that could help a lot of people. You see, there's dating books out there written for teenagers, but most of them are written by experts or people who are a little bit older, which is great, but nobody understands a teenager more than a fellow teenager, especially this unique world of dating we're in the age of social media and in a post-pandemic world. So I just wanted to level with teenagers and make them feel like they're not alone in their experiences and like they can relate to me. I'm not telling them how they should date, who they should date, simply sharing my own experiences and letting them take what they will from that.
It's incredible how you were able to turn your own experiences into something that others can learn from, and specifically that build both yourself and those around you up. So I think it's fascinating what you've done. Now, on another level, you know, you've made it clear that age truly is just a number because you are just so full of knowledge, and you're going to be 21 in 2024 of this year. And thanks to you, there's finally a nonfiction book about dating for teens written, to your point, by someone who so closely understands the dating scene and all the complicated and messy emotions, specifically at that age. Now, for those who haven't already yet picked up your book. What are 3 dating tips you can share with us?
My number one dating tip would be it always starts from within. We hear all around us, you can't love others until you love yourself. But what does that really mean? It ties in, for me personally, very closely to my anxiety journey, which I talk about in detail in my book. So I think when you're able to look at yourself in the mirror during those moments when you may not feel on top of the world and you're able to still love yourself, that's when you can extend love outwards. So I think number one is just working on self-love and your mental health, tying in closely to that. Number two, just to be unapologetically yourself. Don't waste time trying to impress someone who you know isn't compatible. So just, be your authentic self and you'll find someone who loves and appreciates that. And dating tip number three, I feel like just have fun with it. I feel like dating today, we put so much pressure on ourselves to find the one and are often like desperately seeking someone on a dating app. But just have fun with it. I feel like especially teens, when you're 16, 17, 18, these are the times where you can explore and learn what you like and you don't like in a potential partner. So just have fun with it and allow yourself to fall and make mistakes and just get back up again and get back into the dating scene because you have a lot of time.
Boy, you are an old soul. I'm sure you get that a lot.
Sometimes. I listen to classic rock music a lot, so most of the times I get it when people say
You're an old soul. Now let's chat about all the other hats you wear other than author. On top of all this, you're a journalist, you're an influencer, you're an actor and an activist. How do you balance and manage your time between all these roles?
Yeah, I get this question a lot. I feel like just finding time for the things that make me happiest. When I wake up every morning, I ask myself that question, what's going to make me happy today? And I prioritize that. So this morning, I love sleeping late. I sleep till like 10:30. Usually this morning, I got my booty up at 8:30 and I got on my Peloton bike because I just felt like grinding on the Peloton this morning. And then I focused on school because I'm still a senior in college. So today wasn't really a day for TikToking. It wasn't really a day for writing a lot. And that's okay because there are so many days in the week or 7 days to get everything done. So it's okay if you prioritize certain things one day and then the other day do everything else. It's all about finding a balance, but most importantly, just being happy and doing things you're passionate about.
You must be the mom of your circle.
The mom of my circle.
Yeah, I bet all your friends call you for advice.
Sometimes. I'm also like the baby of my circle. So I feel like people often like look at me. I'm really young for my grade. I'm turning 21 and I'm a senior. So people see me as like the baby. So I don't think they call me for advice as much.
Oh,
But
really? Well, you sound like you are just full of depth and knowledge. Now, as a Gen Zer, you've grown up with great access to the internet, from experiencing cyberbullying firsthand to becoming an influencer with millions of followers. You've seen both the pitfalls and potentials of the online world. How did you gain your social media following, and how do you foster a safe and positive online space?
So I gained my social media following mostly in 2020 during the pandemic. Everyone was at home on their phones and tuning into TikTok, so I kind of jumped on that wave. I posted a fitness video and overnight it just went viral. It got 10 million views to date. And I just wanted to create this space that tweens and teens could escape to, especially since the world was so crazy and a lot was unknown. I wanted to give them a constant in their life and make them feel comfortable that they could tune into my TikToks every day. And that was the constant in their life. They knew they could come and get these entertaining product reviews and, at the time, fitness videos. And in terms of creating a safe online space, I mean, my content is all positive, focused. I'm smiling in like every video and just showing fun products, keeping it light, upbeat.
I love it. I love it. Now, as a content creator, you've collaborated with top fashion and beauty brands and lifestyle brands, including even major platforms like Netflix and HBO Max and Walt Disney. And I mean, the list goes on and on. MAC Cosmetics, Alice and Olivia, Chips Ahoy, Dunkin', and so much more. How do you vet out the brands you work with, and how important is their social impact and activism to you?
I think most of the brands reach out to me and I judge a brand that I want to work with based on if I would actually use their product. So, for example, Disney, if Disney sends me an unboxing, I love Disney. I'm such a Disney girl at heart. So that was an instant yes for me. And MAC Cosmetics, I already use their products. So stuff like that. I just look through and I see, am I going to actually use this product? Because I would never promote something to my following that I would never use, regardless of like how much compensation is offered for the campaign.
I love that. And what about social activism? Is that important to you?
Social activism, I mean, I feel like for me, the most important causes that I look for are, mental health, anxiety, anti-bullying, because that's what I've been an activist for my whole life. So if a company really, promotes those causes, I feel like that was an added plus.
Yeah, it's very important not only to promote the proper organizations that are part of the sentiment or ethos of the company, and even for yourself as a content creator to align with, but it's also important to find brands that give back. It's extremely important in today's day and age to find companies that are socially active and sustainable, which brings me full circle to this segment. It's the Hydration with Heart segment, and it's brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. And that's one brand that I love. I love coconut water, and I can't wait for them to send you a supply of coconut water in all their cases. But the reason I really love this brand, outside of just it tastes fantastic, it's one thing to introduce premium coconut water that tastes better than anything you've ever tried before, but it's truly, truly something else, Carrie, and even at your young age of 20, 21, to give back to the communities and people that truly need it. And that's why for every case of Once Upon a Coconut sold, they donate 10% to a charity that they select each month, but they're very big advocates of the Down Syndrome Foundation of Florida, which I am a huge supporter of too. So I commend you for taking a stance up with the organizations that you stand behind and are active for, whether it's anti-bullying or mental health advocacy, because we need your voice as a Gen Zer to be able to have that lasting effect on generations to come, because we're all getting old over here. The moms and the dads of the world and the millennials. I used to be the cool one. Now you're the cool one, and we're passing it on to you. So it's your voice that we're going to be looking to.
You guys are still cool too. Give yourself some credit.
Well, I do my best. Now, before we wrap up here, what advice do you have to aspiring young writers?
Write what you know. And that doesn't necessarily mean writing about your life, but it's writing something that your heart is in. My heart isn't really in fiction anymore like it used to be. That's why I wrote my memoir. I'm slowly returning to fiction a little bit because I want to adapt my real-life rom-com into a television series. More to come on that. But I feel like just focusing on what you love and what you're passionate about. Don't write something that you don't enjoy. And from there, you'll really produce something you're proud of.
You are such a go-getter. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations on all your success. I hope 2024 is your year, because you surely deserve it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
That was our Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. That was the awesome journalist, influencer, and now author Carrie Berk. Be sure to check her out on all her social media platforms at Carrie Berk with 2 Ks. And her website is carrieberk.com. And definitely get your hands on a copy of her solo debut book, My Real-Life Rom-Com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Experience the thrill of Omega Ball, the collision of chaos and innovation in soccer. 3 teams, 3 goals, and non-stop action. Embrace the revolution. Watch Omega Ball on Your Home TV now. Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next, in America's favorite pharmacist segment, brought to you by Triquetra Health, we're chatting with pharmaceutical expert Phil Cowley right here in studio at 710 WR iHeart Radio headquarters right here in Midtown Manhattan. Happy 2024 and welcome to a fabulous new year. Today we're chatting about the looming pharmaceutical crisis, rising costs of prescriptions, and why Congress is currently reviewing a new law requiring transparency from pharmaceutical manufacturers and pharmacy benefit managers. What is it that they're hiding? Now, drugstore chains for decades saturated U.S. cities, suburbs, and small towns with new stores. Now they're closing thousands of stores, leaving gaps in communities for medicines and essentials. Researchers find pharmacy closures lead to health risks, such as older adults failing to take medication. Rite Aid, the third largest standalone pharmacy chain, filed for bankruptcy in December and will reportedly close roughly 400 to 500 of its approximately 2,200 stores. Rite Aid was undone by competition from larger rivals. Its $3.3 billion debt load and expensive legal battles for its alleged role in fueling the opioid crisis. They said alleged, but that's some food for thought. Now, CVS, Walgreens, and Rite Aid are eliminating some locations as they face rising competitions for these items from Amazon and big box stores with pharmacies like Walmart and Dollar General in rural areas. But here to chat more and dice right into this is my expert at hand, pharmaceutical expert Phil Cowley. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Hey, thank you. Isn't New York gorgeous this time of year?
I love it. It's absolutely fantastic. It's infectious. Happy 2024. Can't wait to kick this year off and so excited to have you in studio. So let's chat about crisis in U.S. pharmacy closures. So Phil, we were talking about this just last week. The closure of 7% of CVS and Walgreens in the next year is very indicative of a significant shift in the pharmacy landscape overall. And if you really think of it, potential reasons for this could be multifaceted. Dissecting this is going to take days, but it could range from change in consumer behavior to broader economic factors. But it would be interesting to explore whether this trend is a result of increased reliance on online pharmacies, the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, or perhaps changes in insurance reimbursement policies affecting pharmacy viability. What is the reason for this sudden shift?
Well, about 10 years ago, there was this huge shift away from what was the independent pharmacy. It used to be you'd walk into the pharmacy and they were owned by the guys or the girls that were inside the stores. Then there was this massive expansion of CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aids with the expansion of the Medicare payer system. Well, when that happened, you saw 50% of the independent pharmacies just disappear from the landscape, which gave the big players a lot more room. In comes COVID-19, and there's a lot of federal funding that comes in that allows for them to continue to expand. Well, their margins have dropped, and so now they're withdrawing, and this leaves people with nothing to do. I mean, you've got, for the first time ever, the people per pharmacy is going to be increased substantially. And so now you're leaving at-risk individuals and even more lower-income areas are going to be without pharmacies at all.
Well, when you put it like that, let's talk about exactly what you just said, the decreasing access ratio, because that's important. So the traditional ratio of 11,000 people per pharmacy decreasing is a very notable shift because it potentially is indicating challenges in accessibility to even healthcare services. But understanding the causes behind this change, in my opinion, is extremely crucial. And factors obviously include the population growing and changing demographics or shifts in healthcare infrastructure, but it could also be influenced by the increasing demand for healthcare services and the need for pharmacies to adapt to these evolving patient needs. That ratio is now moving to less access for the first time, like you just said, since the 1950s. But what is actually causing the shift?
So the shift comes a lot to do with margins and cost of goods. So there's been a huge push right now for transparency within Congress. So you have a lot of the prescription benefit managers like CVS and Express Scripts have to start to show where their margins are at, which when they have to start showing rebate programs, they've become less compliant to what the Congress wants. That's showing with a decrease in revenue for all of these PBMs. And because of that, they've reduced how much they're paying pharmacies. So now what you have is these places in Colorado and in Oklahoma and Washington where you have pharmacies walking out because right now 9,000 drug errors lead to either death or harmful effects that put people in hospitals. So now you have pharmacists that can't work underneath the conditions, so the profit margins are dropping. So instead of fixing the problem, they're moving them all to a single place. So you have to do everything mail order, and that allows for them to keep their margins high, but that doesn't give people what they need when it comes to community care. You need the pharmacies there. Most of the prescriptions that are being filled now by community pharmacists are not ones that should be being filled by mail order anyway. They're new prescriptions. They're antibiotics. They're things that people need today. And now they're trying to move it even more to a central fill and keep the ratio, the labor that would be inside that to be really low, which will increase the chances for errors.
This makes me It brings to mind an article I recently read about the retail pharmacy chains that overexpanded in the past, really often pushing out the local pharmacies in the process, right? And the number of independent pharmacies actually decreased by nearly 50% from 1980 to 2022. And this is according to McKinsey. CVS, the largest U.S. chain, closed 244 stores between 2018 and 2020. And in 2021, it announced plans to close another 1,000 stores by this year, 2024. So there's a lot of factors that are contributing to this, obviously. But now this brings me into segueing into high prescription costs in the U.S. So the trend of Americans paying more for prescriptions than any other country raises a ton of questions about the factors driving these costs, and exploring the reasons behind this discrepancy involves examining pharmaceutical pricing models, the role of insurance companies, and of course the influence of pharmaceutical manufacturers. And additionally, the potential policy changes or market forces that might alleviate this burden on consumers could really provide some valuable insights. Now, Phil, Americans pay more than any other country in the world for their prescriptions. Why?
Because corporate America gets away with it. I mean, it's that simple. They like to say it's because the regulations here are harder, or they like to give you lots of reasons. But you've got to keep in mind, 90% of prescriptions that are filled inside the United States are generic medications, but they only make up 1/4 of the cost. So most of us, if you go into your cabinet right now, you'll look in there and there'll be almost all generic medications. Those generic medications only make up 25% of the cost. It's the brand name medications that cost the most. And the rebate system that has been for years is the thing that's driven all pharmacists crazy. So if you go in and you buy yourself a brand name medication through whatever PBM you have, they'll come in and you'll pay your 25%. So let's just say it's $1,000. You pay $250. And then you go home, you're like, oh, it's expensive, but at least I have insurance. Well, then what happens is the manufacturers turn around and give the prescription benefit managers a kickback. They give them money. I don't like they call them rebates, but those rebates have never been out in the open. Right. So Congress for the last 2 years has been trying to push a clarity law, which the prescription benefit managers have said, well, we can't do it. It's too difficult. Well, now that they've demanded it, they're switching over their pricing to where now it's cost of the medication plus a little bit on top. That way they can show clarity. Remember, though, that clarity is only going to help on the generic medications, and that's not where the problem is.
So the transparency in legislation really is we should be focusing for the brands, not just the generics. Now, the congressional review of a law requiring transparency, this law that we're talking about from manufacturers and pharmacy benefit managers, what we call PBMs, suggests concern, to your point, about hidden aspects of the pharmaceutical industry, right? That's a red flag for me. And exploring the specifics of this legislation and understanding what information manufacturers and PBMs are currently not disclosing, of course, would shed light on the need for increased transparency. And I would think that this would involve discussions around drug pricing and strategies and rebates, or even potential conflicts of interest that impact consumer costs. So what is it that they're really trying to hide, and why do they need this law?
Well, it's interesting you would need it at all. I mean, if you have them working independently, there wouldn't be a need for this law. So the fact that the manufacturers and the PBMs both don't want this information to come out should have put an alarm out for every person that's out there. Because this increased cost, what will happen is the PBM will have a rebate. In order to offset that, the manufacturer will raise their prices, which then will cause the PBM to want a larger rebate. And in the end, it's the employers, it's the government, it's everybody who's actually paying the end bill that's suffering from this. In the meantime, your PBMs continue to show record-breaking amounts of profit. Your manufacturers are completely destroying everything. They're making so much money, and everybody's watching their stock. Everybody invests in these stocks because they do so well, but you should be questioning who's making that stock go up, because these prices continue to go up. With the reduction of the number of pharmacies and access, which you have to remember, these are lower income, elderly people that need to be in the pharmacies, be able to talk to somebody. The CVS announced that they expect to have their profit margins go up by between 4% and 6% just by closing these stores and making less accessibility.
It's terrible. So we have about 5 minutes left, but let's talk about cost plus model and consumer clarity. So Mark Cuban's initiative to change the way prescriptions are paid for through the cost plus model, and CVS getting on board, does signal a potential paradigm shift. So what does the cost plus model entail, and does it bring more transparency to prescription pricing? I mean, I, for one, would like to understand how this model aligns with consumer interests and whether it addresses concerns about hidden fees or unclear pricing structures. That would be valuable to me. But what does cost plus actually mean, and will this create clarity for the consumers?
We have to keep in mind that Mark Cuban is a genius. And it's unlikely that he's doing this out of just the goodness of his heart. The man is too smart for all of those things. But I love his plan. And here's why. What it's supposed to do is there's a list of drugs, and it comes out from a national list. So the national list will come out and say that each one of these medications should cost X amount of dollars. And then from that list, now the cost plus model, which is Mark Cuban's, and then the new Care Saver, I believe is what's called with Caremark's. They're both supposed to take that list and then put a markup above it, making it so pharmacies can function. There's a few issues with that, though, because we're not looking at what it's costing mail order pharmacies. That's going to be based off the list that is for retail pharmacies, which means Caremark, which owns their own mail order system. And now that Mark Cuban has his own mail order system, the idea there will be they can get their prices lower and then still ship them out. So it will have transparency at the local level. You walk in and talk to your pharmacist and she says this is what it costs. That's probably true. But the mail order systems, which then report back to your employers and to the federal government, their cost will be completely different. So there still will be quite a bit of markup. And most of your major groups within the pharmacy world doesn't believe that the consumer will save a dime with these cost plus systems.
And what's interesting is that earlier we talked about, the impact of generic drugs, but, to the extent that generic drugs contribute to the cost dynamic in the U.S. pharmaceutical market in a way where that is the main driver, these policies obviously are encouraging their adoption to mitigate the costs. But what we are really seeking is transparency on the brand, not necessarily just the generics, from what I'm understanding.
And
correct?
The biologics. So
Right.
anything that ends with the word MAB, that makes up 3% of all prescriptions end with those words, the biologics, and they make up almost 25% of all the costs. And we're not even looking at the biologics to save money. And then in Congress, they make this magic list of 10 drugs, and they think that those 10 drugs, by reducing the price of those 10 drugs, somehow we're going to save money. This is all just the dog and pony act until we really start looking at what brand names cost and who's paying for the research behind it. We're never going to drop any of the money down. You cannot save that much money off of the generic drugs, no matter how much they change. It doesn't make enough of the cost of goods.
Boy, they must love you.
Yeah, I'm always making friends, aren't I?
Yeah, Big Pharma must love Phil's my pharmacist here.
I think that everybody's hurting, though. I think the PBMs are trying to find a way through this system. The whole system is broken, and if you can't fix the system, all of these other things won't work. And so I think that PBMs actually are trying to do their best with what they have. I think the manufacturers are too, but we've made this just awful mess where this person's paying that person, which then gives a little bit over here, and the whole thing is such a wreck. I don't think that there's a great evil behind it, but rather the whole system is so broken. You're trying to fix a car that hasn't run in 35 years and 3 of the pistons are out. I mean, at this time, it's time to go look at a new car.
Yeah, all these payoffs, rebates, whatever you want to call them,
I don't think anybody's really winning.
It's counterproductive, and it's really, really keeping a lot of people quiet about things they shouldn't be. Now, we have about 1 minute left. Of course, in 1 minute, you're great at summing things up. But how do pharmaceutical trends and policies in other countries, Phil, compare to those in the U.S.? And are there lessons or best practices that could be applied to improve the situation domestically?
Well, the thing I really like about places other than the United States is they try to bring in all sorts of types of medicine. And so places like Germany and the UK, they work a lot more with supplements. So good brand name supplements like Triquetra, where you can use something for your blood pressure, which is substantially cheaper and natural in nature. You can find it, you can use it, you feel good about it because it's coming from beetroot or whatever plant it is. And then they tie that in, and then they have a lot of clarity to where you have the government now managing which medications can be on their list. If we're really going to do this, we need to have clarity that's run by somebody other than corporate America that has already had all these, these deals and going on the side. So you can't have all these rebate programs and have it work. Using natural medicine from supplements and then on top of it, adding in national formularies and then throwing in the mix of what we have with the corporate America, something in between, it will work, but we have to revamp the whole system beginning to end.
Boy, you have your work cut out for you. Well, that's the end of this incredible segment. Phil, thank you so much for a very transparent and very informative segment. I learned a ton, and I know those out there listening just got their crash course in pharmaceutical expertise for 2024.
Yeah, it'll be good. I think more people know, they're going to all look at it and say, yes, this makes sense.
This totally makes sense. Well, we are at the end. Thank you for joining us, my friend.
Thank you.
That was America's Favorite Pharmacist, brought to you by Triquetra Health. You can head to triquetrahealth.com. That was Phil Cowley. You can check him out on the gram at Phil's My Pharmacist. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. Happy New Year and best for 2024. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
The Kelly Williams Show is brought to you by Serendipity Yacht Cruises and Events. Tune in and turn on your happy. The Kelly Williams Show is full of energy, incredible guests, and just real fun. Watch her anytime for free on your home TV network and follow her on Facebook and Instagram for a chance to win monthly prizes. Do check them out. The Kelly Williams Show is on yourhometv.com.
A Moment of Zen is sponsored by Body Align. Are you ready for a long winter's nap? Over 183 million adults have trouble sleeping at least once a week. That's why Body Align designed a wearable patch that helps you fall asleep faster, wake up feeling refreshed, and comes with a money-back guarantee. Try the Sweet Dreams patch today and get a buy one, get one free pack with the promo code DYP. Visit bodyalign.com and enter DYP at checkout, because discovering your potential starts with a great night's sleep. That's bodyalign.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. This is your year, and welcome to 2024. Time to transform, manifest, and grow. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. Up next, in our Discover Your Potential segment, brought to you by Body Align, I am joined in studio right here at iHeart headquarters with our newest segment contributors, podcasters, and even authors, Dan Gilman and Anna DeVere. Their latest venture brings things full circle with this Discover Your Potential segment in a new year of transformation. Dan and Anna have closed the chapter on a very, very eventful year. And like so many, they both lost their jobs and reinvented themselves. Fortunately, they both have a belief in the possibility that with great challenges come great opportunities. Dan chose to follow in his mother's footprints and took over as host of her 30-year-old radio show, Discover Your Potential. And Anna, she saw her dream pivot in joining him as co-host. Her former podcast played to an audience in the millions, but starting over gave her a chance to live her dream, having conversations that really matter to her. And Discover Your Potential finds these silver lining specialists behind the mic with game changers, best-selling authors, top athletes, and astronauts, motivational speakers, and uncommon heroes. Joining me today is Dan and Anna to an incredible world of possibilities, and you are going to be able to live your full potential once you listen to their inspiring story. Here to chat life, love, and new beginnings are my dear friends and co-hosts, Anna DeVere and Dan Gilman. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 2023. Anna, what an eventful year.
Oof.
Not only for you, but for both of you. So we know that joining us here on iHeart and WR is obviously the high and the highlight. But can you both share a low? Anna, you go first.
Okay, this is tough. I mean, when we first met you, Zen, we were on Cloud 9 and coming to iHeartRadio and here in beautiful New York City from Las Vegas, I couldn't think of a better start. And we thought we were doing something quite different. But I also lost my job like Dan and hit that low at about July. Now, this was serious, Zen. And the other thing is I had bootstrapped my show. The other show with millions of followers. So when I say that I lost everything, I finished taping a show with Dan and my car alarm went off. Now we're remote, so here's the car alarm go off. They were towing my car.
Oh.
It got repossessed. So I had literally spent everything I had and more to create this show that was followed by millions of people, won lots of awards. And here I am at the lowest of low, trying to teach people to discover their potential. So I had that crisis moment, right? That imposter syndrome, that what do we do now? The incredible thing was that as guests kept coming on and giving tips, my attitude shifted and I built myself back to the place that I am now, which is amazing.
Oh, well, things always tend to come full circle. Dan, I'd love to hear your low.
Oh, my low was actually similar, ironically. So I actually lost my job. I was a design director for a number of years, and it talk about pivot. It really showed me, okay, this is the path I should be on, and iHeart was calling. So this is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Well, iHeart reaches 9 out of 10 Americans every single day, so the calling is real. Now, what made you lean into your challenge when it appeared you were not on track to manifest your dreams, Anna?
Well, I'm a mom. And the other thing you don't know about me is that my daughter went through an incredible challenge. She had to learn to walk again. So right when I tanked, I couldn't get a job outside my home. The fact that it was remote made me lean in because I'm a mom and I have to be her support. She's now my hero, and that is my lift, is that I leaned in hard to show her what's possible as she's learning how to walk again.
Oh, that's so touching.
Thank you.
That's a beautiful, beautiful spin. Dan, what about you?
It harkened back to my mother. So she had, as we spoke about, she produced a show for 30 years called Discover Your Potential, and I was just doing that part-time, really, on the side. And this really, I had to shift full-time. This was really my full-time calling, and to touch people's lives. That's really where I'm supposed to be.
Well, there are no coincidences, my dear friend, and you are exactly where you are supposed to be. And your mama knows this, and I hope so do you now. Now, as you both embarked on new beginnings, you in fact both leveraged the science of habit formation and behavioral psychology without even knowing it to navigate the challenges of reinventing yourselves. Actually, the habit loop, as studied by psychologists, involves cue, routine, and reward. And understanding this loop is so important to form positive habits. And research suggests that successful habits and successful habit formation involve setting specific achievable goals and implementing them gradually. And the principles of behavioral psychology, such as operant conditioning, they provide a ton of insight into how reinforcement and positive associations can facilitate lasting behavioral changes during times of transitions like you both have gone through, which brings me to my next question. So, Anna, you're a storyteller and a book author, and I've heard you talk about the stories we tell ourselves that hold us back, for one. Can you share something personal that was holding you back, and what was your breakthrough moment?
So, yes, I think belief in myself was the biggest thing holding me back. And even during these struggles, I had people in my inner circle say, Anna, you're too old to chase your dreams. Well, that's just a war cry for me because I know I'm going to interview people in their 80s who are doing amazing things. But what I'd like to say about creating habits is I like to think that the road between heaven and earth is a rocky road. And you can ride a skateboard and feel every bump, or you can learn a hoverboard. And that's your attitude. So attitude is something I take really seriously. And I just give myself an attitude check every single morning, knowing I don't want to feel the bumps. I know they're there. But I can navigate that so much easier when I look at life as not happening to me, but for me.
That's a great, great attitude. And that's a great lesson for those listening for 2024. Now, Dan, you're following your mother's legacy, without a doubt, with the show she started 30 years ago. What's different about your approach to discover your potential?
So I would say what's different is, well, when she had her show, it was a local show. And she was kind of a local celebrity. But what we're trying to do is we're creating a movement, we're creating impact, and really touching millions of lives. And I think that's the difference. Is she wanted to do that, and that's exactly what we're doing. Is we're going to be touching millions of lives. And
it's all about building and maintaining relationships, right? And
Absolutely.
Your mom did that. And actually, research in social psychology underscores the importance of authentic communication in building and maintaining relationships. And studies show that deep, meaningful conversations can foster a sense of connection and belonging, releasing oxytocin. In fact, it's often
100%.
referred to as the love hormone, right? So the power of shared experiences and vulnerability explored in psychological studies aligns with the idea that open communication contributes to stronger emotional bonds. So I love what you're saying and how transparent you're both being. Now, through your interactions with game changers and authors and motivational speakers, you've identified some common themes or evidence-based strategies, so to speak, that contribute to sustained personal growth. How do these align with scientific findings on human potential? Anna, I'd love to know this.
So this is a great question because you brought up vulnerability. And one of the first and most shocking interviews I had was with Adora Evans. I love you, Adora. I'm not going to go into her story, but in the first 2 minutes, she shared everything about her mess to success. And sharing and being a part of that, developing that oxytocin, right? I just felt like I was in the mix now, learning from guests every time. So every time I've had a guest, it seems like I get better just knowing them. That's what we deliver to our audiences, and that's what you can expect from our show. You're going to feel like you've got personalized attention, and you're building that bond with us. It's so transformational. It's so effective.
You're such a feel-good host.
Thank you.
Now, Dan, what advice do you have for us as your hottest tip for the new year?
Well, one of the hottest tips I would have is, and this is something that I was doing, is there's a really great book called Breathe that I was just looking at. And that's exactly what I did through my hardest times, was actually just, and actually Mel Robbins has mentioned this, you take in a deep breath and you count down to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it just changes your whole essence. And I would say a lot of people just don't do that. Everybody's rushing and trying to get their holiday things happening and after the holidays. So just take some time and actually take a deep breath and understand where you're going.
I love that. Breathe. There we go. Anna, give us your hottest tip.
Okay, I'm so excited about Morgana Ray, who's coming on in February, because she's going to talk about your relationship with money. It's a love relationship. Her book, Financial Alchemy, changed the course of my life last year, even though many things happen in between. I'd say go get Financial Alchemy and get ready for the interview that's going to rock your world. It's potent, and it will surprise you about your relationship with money. It's really fun, too, for Valentine's Day episode.
Oh, that's a great tip. I like that. Now, we're almost at the end, but we're going to talk about what you both left behind to make room for a new year and a new you. Dan, what's in your rear view?
Scarcity. One of my biggest things that I was dealing with was actually fear. And that's going to be behind me in 2024. So,
Anna?
Ooh, I love the Rumi quote that life is a balance between holding on and letting go. So I'm absolutely letting go of the idea that life is happening to me. I like to think that I'm going to live life as if everything is rigged in my favor. So I've got a massive bucket list of things I want to do, and they're already happening because that attitude shift.
Don't you love it that you found your footing?
It's important, but I want to share that with everybody because anybody can transform with just a quick shift. It's a myth that it has to take a lot of time.
Yes, without a doubt. And with that, we are out of time. But I will leave you with an interesting survey from Forbes Health, and specifically one poll of 1,000 U.S. adults. And this was conducted in October of 2023. They looked at Americans' attitudes surrounding resolution setting and what types of goals were prioritized. And interestingly, the survey highlighted a couple of standout themes. And the most commonly selected New Year's resolution for 2024 among respondents was fitness, which contrasts with findings from the previous year, because the previous Forbes Health One poll surveyed in 2022 showed that many people were prioritizing their mental health rather than their physical health in their resolutions for 2023, which I think, as the times are moving and we're getting further and further away from the COVID-19 pandemic, we're starting to really put everything into perspective, our mental health and both our physical health. But definitely discovering your potential should be something that everybody is prioritizing. Thank you both so much for coming on. This was such an incredible, transparent, and feel-good interview.
Thank you,
Zen.
Zen. Can't wait.
That was our Discover Your Potential segment brought to you by Body Align, and you definitely have to check them out on the gram at Discover Your Potential Show, or you could head directly to discoveryourpotential.com. That was Anna DeVere and Dan Gilman, podcast hosts, authors, and dear friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. Happy 2024. Happy New Year. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to live on a boat, climb aboard, and share in the amazing yard-to-yacht adventure at yourhometv.com and explore the warm tropical islands, meet the people, and sample the culture of these beautiful places? Definitely check out Yard to Yacht on yourhometv.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase in luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance. For more information or to order CO2 Lift, go to CO2Lift.com.
Hi guys, this is Zen Sams, your favorite iHeart Radio host from 710 WOR, the voice of New York iHeart Radio. I'm here at Beauty Through Science, that's BTS, at the Hilton in Midtown Manhattan, and I have the pleasure of talking with Dr. Anthony Wilson. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
So talk to me about your plastic surgery practice and what you specialize in.
So I have a boutique plastic surgery practice in New Hampshire, right close to Boston, and we specialize in facelifts, deep plane facelifts under local anesthesia, and we are big into breast augmentation and breast revision surgery. Those are our main specialties.
Well, those are specialties indeed. So what brings you at Beauty Through Science? What are you looking to find here?
I'm looking to learn about the newest technologies in the industry, bringing the newest and greatest to my practice. I'm very interested in the newest options for breast surgery as well as the newest things for facial surgery.
Bringing me to my next question. When we talk about innovation and we talk about brand new products that are exhibited right here at Beauty Through Science, one of the products that's standing out, that's trending very well, non-invasive, is carbon dioxide therapy for the skin. We're talking about carboxytherapy. There's one company in particular knocking it right at the ballpark, and that's CO2Lift.com. You just had a beauty facial done and they beautified you. Tell me how your skin feels after the mask application.
So it feels amazing. First of all, it is painless, which is super important, and all you feel is a slight tingling knowing it's doing something, which is also super important. Since I've had it done, about 5 people have asked me what did I do, and the answer is the CO2 mask.
The CO2 mask. Now, have you heard of carboxytherapy?
Yes, I have.
And what is your take on use cases, perhaps incorporating it into your practice? What do you feel altogether about carbon dioxide therapy for the skin?
So we are always looking for ways to age better. That's number one. But number two, as a surgeon, I am looking to utilize this for healing. We want to reduce downtime, we want to give optimal results, and we want to create the best outcome for our patients. So I will be applying this to incisions, I will be applying it to facelift flaps, I'll be applying it to breast incisions, abdominal incisions, and to anything that we're doing liposuction as well. So this is going to transform the healing process for patients, making it faster and giving better outcomes. I am certain of this. And for a long time we utilized things like hyperbarics, which people talk about. That's incredibly expensive, not accessible. This is at home, in-office hyperbaric options, topical, locally applied. So I think it's going to transform it for us.
The before and afters truly on even the vaginal treatment. They have an incredible vaginal treatment. You actually truly within one application see the results, and your face is glowing, by the way.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York iHeart Radio. That was Anthony Wilson. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV.
Hi, this is Kathy Ireland here on A Moment of Zen, brought to you by Your Home TV. We've developed an all-inclusive subscription-free network that you're going to love, whether it's financial freedom, fashion, beauty, health and wellness, wellness, wonderful weddings, travel and culture, cooking, entertainment, and short-form documentaries, programming for everyone. Classic films and new shows, including Kathy Ireland Presents American Dreams. We've developed this network just for you. Please check out yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could head to 710WOR.iHeart.com/A Moment of Zen. Also remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, YouTube. We appear Sundays at 2 p.m. And of course, you can also find us on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV streaming platform 24/7. It's free programming to you. You could head directly to our channel at mox.yourhometv.com. Thank you for listening to A Moment of Zen. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make this show possible. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. A big shout out to our newest sponsors, Anna DeVere and Dan Gilman in Discover Your Potential segment, brought to you by Body Align, and America's Favorite Pharmacist, brought to you by Triquetra Health. Also, a big shout out to CO2lift.com and Once Upon a Coconut. We'll see you next week. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio.